Hi guys, we're just checking the connection with YouTube, which does appear to be working. Um, it's not anyone's snoring, mate. It's I'm very nasally and it comes through in the microphone, Dennis. How you doing, guys? Look, we'll be starting reasonably soon. I'll just see who's in the room with me. Ash, you're in the room with me. I'm in the room with me. We're both in the room with me. Hi, Soon. How you going? Nice to see you guys. I'm going to jump on my other computer and just jump into YouTube and make sure it's working. Well, what I was going to do was just pop through some charts while we're waiting for everybody. Things are brilliant, Dennis. Yeah, no, yeah, mate. I actually had a couple of days off, just back from the holiday home this afternoon, and looking forward to getting into this actually and doing a little bit of market analysis. I only had a very brief look on Friday. I'm going to log into YouTube so that I can keep a track down there and answer any questions. And sometimes I find it quite bizarre that I log into these things. I don't even know what YouTube really is or does, but I get to log in at the moment and. YouTube. We had to clear the cache, so we've lost everything. We've lost everything on history. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Going well, mate. Going well. How about you?
Mate, I am going. You know me, mate. I am good. I've had a bit of a break. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to see if I can.
3 or 4 hours?
Oh, mate, I had a proper. I went away and had a break, and
did you?
We didn't do anything crazy. It was. We actually. I'm going to now subscribe to my own YouTube site so I can watch. I find that really weird because I'm already subscribed, but it's what it wants me to do. I must be in under some different YouTube thing.
You're the IT guru, mate. Come on.
You can watch from Zoom. You can click on the link from Zoom to watch.
Yeah, but I want to be in YouTube with everyone else so I can keep an eye on questions and like the show and just help everybody out.
Yeah, I think you can still do that from there. Actually, that's what I normally do. I don't know if it works or not, to be honest, but that's what I normally go on.
Look, according to this, I've got 2 different things streaming of 5 viewers in each. So it must be the same one. I like that. Well, that's interesting. I'm just having a look at some of the videos that Lloyd did. I'm just going to go on that. I'm just going to. There we are. Right in a minute now, I'll hear myself talking rubbish on YouTube and wonder why we weren't doing some more important stuff. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, I do apologise for the last couple of weeks. It is my apologies. We have had some problems with the connection, and we are pleased to be back up and running. It is good to see. We got a like from somebody. Got a like from me as well, guys. Nice to be back, and guys, good to have your company today. Yes, guys, it is. Yeah, I do apologise, guys. It has been crazy. I don't know how to explain this to people because I don't really understand it myself. But YouTube did weird stuff, and we just going to see if I can flip over to. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'll come back in a minute and do all that. What I can do in the meantime is say hi to you guys. Hey, guys, I don't know about you guys, but I can't say I love the market from the point of view of, hey, I've had an amazing week. I've made a truckload of money, but I just like this market. I just think this market's interesting, and it's not boring. I don't understand it in a way that, I can make assumptions and talk about it, but I can't say, look, I just get it. And the sort of the bottom underlying thing for mine is that it's different because we continue to see quite a few ranges, but I think they're ranges with definite buyers and definite sellers and not indecision. They're not just going sideways because no one's doing anything. They're going sideways because there's people with strong opinions one way and strong opinions the other way. And it's quite an unusual range for me. The range is quite big, I think, because of that. But I find this market fascinating. I'm enjoying being in it. I just disappointed. I banked some money. I stopped on my gold trade on the long, on the little cutback on Friday afternoon. I must have put a stop on before I went to bed on Friday night. Woke up Saturday and had been hit. I had that trade on without a stop. I don't often do that. I don't often do that at all. But I do want to stay in that trade. So we'll find my way back into gold a bit later on. And I have a feeling that Ainsley will pick us up and explain a lot more about that as we go along. I do want to.
I certainly will.
Cheers, Ainsley. Look, I do want to talk about something, for us, for you on YouTube watching, for those in the webinar with us today. It's good to have your company. We are obviously lucky to have Ash Long again today. He isn't today. One of the things that we have done is we have done up a schedule for the next 2 months, and I'll be able to let you know who will be doing what in TTR with us each week. Jeff, myself, and Ainsley will be the staples in the show. And this week we have Ash with us. The following week we have Chloe with us, and the week after that we will have Julian with us. So we'll be able to, we've rostered that through to August, and we'll be able to keep you informed each week of who's going to be here the next week. They're all good, and one of the things I really like is they bring some really different skills to the whole thing, and I think that's really good for those of you that are listening. Look, if I get a chance, I'll be talking Wednesday as well. Make sure you join. I'll be talking about the trading retreat and our plans around what we're doing with that as we I'm trying to think what FTS means. I'm hoping it's something good.
I can make it be bad if you want.
So I'll be talking on Wednesday. I think 6:30 it is for my show, my normal fortnightly session. I'll be on Zoom, and I'll be talking about stuff coming up, including what we're planning to do around the trading retreat this year. It's still early, but I'll go into some detail in that a bit later on. Look, I think without further ado, we've got a few people talking about them in the chats already, so why don't we hand over to Ash? I'll go away and see if I can sort my YouTube out. After Ash, we'll be going to Ainsley and Jeff. I'll be around to offer a few comments and jump into the conversations if I need to at any stage. Ash, the FTSE is like everything else, isn't it? I reckon that you and I could sit and talk about the FTSE for a couple of hours without even knowing the time had gone by.
Undoubtedly, mate. Yeah, and it's been a bit of a battle for me, if I'm honest, just not to trade it. The last week I've had a really good month, and I kind of have to caveat everything that I refused last week to trade with that, because there were 2 trades that I passed up. I said, no, I'm not going to trade this. I've had a really good month, and I don't really want to kind of put myself into any kind of psychology where I'm annoyed with myself because I maybe harmed my profit line. But it kind of got to the point, it was just like, geez, this is just getting too interesting, as you've really put it. It's far too an interesting market, and it's not often that you get ranges. From my perspective, I don't particularly like ranges. I find them they can be kind of tricky things to trade. You don't always get the best setups. Inevitably, when you're at the top of a range, really the setups are starting to look long. Moving averages have crossed, pivots are kind of up. So you do have to be in a kind of contrarian spirit if you're going to trade it back down again. But these ranges have been slightly different, where we've had some really nice trends within those ranges. And it got to the point on Friday that I was just like, I can't not trade this. I've still got another 4 days left of the month. So I buckled on Friday, and I did end up taking a trade on the FTSE, and we're in that now. So we'll see what happens and how it opens. And to be honest, it is a long-term idea. I'll share my screen as well while we discuss this, but it is a long-term idea. You might need to enable me to share if possible, mate.
Mate, a little bit of enabling going on, right? How do I do that? Screen share. Do I need to screen share and then give you the screen? Is that what I need to do?
Can you make me a co-host or?
Oh, sorry guys, I didn't know you guys didn't have powers. I didn't mean to have you guys all jump in and be, not the full deal or anything. That seems a bit rude to me. I'll make you a co-host, and I'll make Ainsley a co-host. Later in the day, we'll hear about from gold and oil and getting flowers from Ainsley. We will hear all of that from her as we come to her a little bit later on.
Happens all the time. Just happens all the time.
Not sure if Julian will pop in and join us tonight or not. He is doing his own session. We'll just to roll that up, may well pop in as he has done the last couple of times after feed around 15 minutes from now. Ash, let's have a look at this FTSE, eh?
Yeah, so these are the trades that I passed up last week, and I told the guys that there was not a lot wrong with this one. There was a pivot in the way of that first one, but I passed that one up, and that went all the way down, and I think from entry it would have given us about 150 pips, which I have to say, when I was talking about it, I was saying it's likely to come down, and I can live with that because of of having a really positive month. I can live with it coming down. But when it comes down 150 pips, it does start to grate a little bit. that I didn't get into it. And then there was this trade that we were looking at on Thursday, and I was saying, no, I'm not going to trade this, guys. Still had a good month, and I'm happy to see this one go. There's nothing wrong with it, and if I'm completely truthful, I'm talking myself out of it because I want to protect what I got. Then that one goes another 150 pips. So by this time, I'm getting a little bit kind of like, this is getting a bit ridiculous. I'm actually turning away from trades that are improving the month rather than making it negative. So then this one pops up here, as a potential selling opportunity. And when we look at it, there was, and I do think this is arguable. We've got patterns within patterns, which does inevitably make the stock markets or any charts slightly trickier to read. But I think there's an arguable head and shoulders going on here. We got a little slanted one there. We got a head there. And then we got the right shoulder there, and as everybody knows, I like trading the right shoulder. I don't like trading necklines particularly. I like to try and get it on the right shoulder because
that is not an attractive looking person, is it? Those shoulders they're not looking that cool, are they?
He's pretty ugly. He's pretty ugly.
Well, that's where it's a challenge, isn't it? And that's where if somebody said to me, that's not a head and shoulders because of this, this, and this, I'll be like, okay, fine. If that's the way you see it, then I'd be quite happy to get talked down from it. But it was starting to look that way for me, so I decided to trade that. But there are other sort of mitigating circumstances with this.
We can paraphrase that as well, can't we, Ash? We can say. This was putting in higher highs and it's now putting a lower high. I mean,
exactly
it's the same thing, right? It's
do you know, mate?
And this is view it and term it, right?
Exactly, and I think this is some of the issue when you start getting into the semantics of what a pattern is called. You start getting so focused on it being a flag or a channel or a head and shoulders or a wedge that you forget that actually what's the market really telling you? Is it going lower or is it going higher? Is it a higher low or is it a lower high? And that's the only thing that matters. The name of it doesn't matter. It's just I suppose it's easier to label it. So and it's easier almost to decipher which way you're going to trade if you label it. Head and shoulders are top area patterns. So we trade those to the downside. But you're absolutely right. It's a lower high. It's an area with a lower high. So looking at that, and as I say, you got that trend line kind of coming through here, this place as well, and it looks like it's rejecting that trend line continuously. So you got to start considering, or I had to start considering, is there actually an entry here? And then this is where the patterns within patterns come. We have a trend line coming down here, touching that point. We have a trend line going up here. Now, if we get rid of this one, now what we've got is a little triangle. Yeah. So what I'm looking for next week is, and these areas, as I say, it's just areas of support and resistance. That's all I'm trying to ascertain. That means that down here, I am going to be considering a buying opportunity or a closing opportunity at that particular point. If it cruises through, I'll give it a little bit of time. If it cruises through, I stick with it. If it holds at this particular area, then I change my focus. And the way I trade that, I won't go into hugely, but because unless you're in at the short, and I'll ask people on Monday if anybody's managed to get short on the market, because if you have, then there's a specific way we'll trade this, which will leave our shorts in the market while we are also going to take some longs. But otherwise, it starts to get a bit too confusing and probably a bit self-absorbing as well to talk about something that nobody else is in. So we'll discuss it on Monday in the show, and we'll discuss it on Monday in the US show with maybe a bit of education, so I can show you guys how to do it. But the key is going to be the 4th of July. We were talking before. We know Julian is along with Ainsley aficionados in seasonality, which Jeff and I always almost look to the heavens and hope one of them might turn up in one of our shows sometimes, because there are certain things that we don't, we're not looking at seasonality. So to have some of those experts around is really useful, and to have I beg your pardon?
I said sacre bleu, not going to the seasonals.
Well, it's not, just turn up. It's not right, really, Jeff, and our thing. That's not the way we trade. It's not the thing that we put high on the list. But it's still.
I actually made a bet with myself, didn't I, Ash? I said, look, if dollar yen goes long in this seasonal month of May, not only will I eat my hat and dance on Trafalgar Square steps with no clothes on, I'll also look after seasonality. So
I am
you've got to
God that
convince
didn't
me.
happen.
Thank God it didn't work.
I am
Of an
thanking
ordinary
God that
for
didn't
some
work
people.
out.
That's
My
true.
gosh.
Yeah. Well, this is
So
the thing. So, you know, when you grade your the things that you use as barometers, which I'll get to in a moment, then you have to pick things. You have to pick COT report. You have to pick seasonality. You have to pick other markets that might give you a particular feel of where the market's going. I don't grade seasonality as high as other things. So to hear Julian talk about the 4th of July. Going into the 4th of July next week, and an 80%, I think you said that, Paul, if I'm not wrong, an 80%, 82% success rate of buying into the 4th of July. I've got to have alarm bells on a short. I beg your pardon?
20 for the last 20 years, 82%.
82% for the last 20 years. So we've got to have some alarm bells around that, you know, if we're looking to trade. So that if we're looking to stick in the short, so that means we might need to get a little bit cute on this. You know, if it comes down to this level, maybe there's a buying opportunity, and I won't turn it away if it comes, and even if it's a little bit suspect, I'll take it because if all goes wrong, then I'll close them both, and whatever the move from this point to this point will be the profit. If it goes well, pops up, I'll hold this short because that might mean that we're just going to get a pop for a few days and then down. So I'll control it as we go. But so Monday and Tuesday next week are important, and for this reason, if we look on these longer term time frames, this is the weekly chart on the FTSE 100. This bar, again, semantics, this is a spinning top. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but what it's telling us is that there's still indecision. It's slightly bearish, but there is still indecision at this particular point. If we now flip to the S&P on the weekly, looks a little bit more certain, you know. So this is where we bring in the barometers, you know, what the other market's telling us. So last week ended like this on the S&P and the FTSE. Now, if we are to come down at the start of next week into the end of Tuesday, that's going to give us a monthly bar close. Now, if you look at this monthly bar and it closes down here, then that's going to make this bar end up looking something like this.
Boy, that gets bearish, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is the thing, mate. You know, sorry, that was too long at the bottom.
First lower high test bar. Like the look of that.
We're down here, aren't we? If it closes anywhere near, you know, if it gets a little bit lower. So yeah, so why close a short position with such a good price point? And I'm really pleased with the price point on that. So why close a short position? Then that's why I will fight for it if I can to stay with the short. Because if we are looking for then July to come down, who knows where we could end up? This is the S&P. And if you start looking at pattern, you know, again, you know, we're talking about sort of like potential patterns. But does that then become some kind of neckline? And does the market start to look like this? You know, are we then looking at potentially something even more sinister? Who knows? You know, it's not really my job at this particular stage to second guess what will happen into next year. You know, it's unlikely that I'll be holding my positions until that point, but you just never know. You know, it's worth kind of like mentioning it because there might be a change of focus if that was to happen. Now we bring that back to the FTSE and look at the monthly on the FTSE. It's going to look pretty similar, you know, as that S&P. So 2 days of negativity from the FTSE could lead us down here. Now, what interests me about the 4th of July is buying into the 4th of July. And what I'd love to see is a market that did this. So it's open there. If it does something like this, it's opened here. Sorry, it's opened here. Now, if it does anything, which gives me something like that, or it could be just something, even just a tiny bit weaker than that, and give me anything that is lower than that, that is going to be well worth holding on to. Then what I'd like to see Wednesday, Thursday is the market pop up on a shorter term time frame, and then fail. Meaning, so as long as it doesn't hit this position, you know, I'd like to see it pop up on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into the weekend, and then into I can't think of what the date will be, a week Monday, but whatever the week Monday is, if we open up then we start to fail. So if people aren't short at this stage, if this is to play out, it would suggest the best time to get short FTSE would be a week Monday. And that means maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're probably looking at long. If you're not short already, Monday, Tuesday would probably be sensible to stay out and see if it gets down to a level of support, and then we buy it back up again and then potentially drop. Now, given all that stuff, just analyzing the FTSE, you know, gives us an idea of direction. But then if we bring in a barometer, look at this. Now, this is the this here, and I wish I had it on that account, but I don't. So we've got to use it here, and it's important. Anybody that gets a chart up of this, you need to use it. This is the VIX, the fear indicator. Look at the VIX on the shorter term timeframes. This weekly, if it's going to go in the opposite direction to the FTSE next week, could well be looking to. And now this is questionable. You know, what is this particular bar telling us right now? I think we could probably interpret it any which way we want. But I think this bar, if we consider this as bar 1, bar 2 didn't collapse. Now, oftentimes, what I'd be looking for here is something that would give me some kind of evening star, like a 3-bar pattern, an evening star, meaning bar 3 should have cut into bar 1's body, and it didn't. It didn't end there. Look where it's ended, pretty much near the top of it. Now, does that suggest a hold? Possibly. And if that suggests a hold on the VIX, that suggests downside with the stocks. And we bring this onto a daily, then this starts to almost become even clearer. What's happened here? That to me looks like a breakout. Now that could go. You bring it down a couple more time frames. Now what's going on? You know, are we getting something which is suggesting upside on the VIX? And when I look at this, it certainly suggests to me that we are. So that's the case, mate. That's the case I'm making to myself. And to be fair, I feel comfortable because of the price I've got. And as I said to you earlier, if we get taken out, we're break even. But it's worth the punt, giving everything that's lining up. And then you couple in the fact that we got summer coming. Now, what I little as I don't put seasonality that high on my list, but I do have it on my list. And I know that stocks are weak during July right up until September, October time. So you bring all that into play. Are we going to get the next 3 months of considerable downside? Maybe. Worth staying with it, right?
One of those things, mate, isn't it, where, there just seem to be countries that are absolutely determined to have a massive coronavirus problem. They're going out of their way for it. And, if that happens, problems falling through. This is, and we talked about this earlier, didn't we? That the big question now is whether the true valuations of the stocks would come through and the market would trash, or whether people just believe there'll be more stimulus put in and the company's propped up. And, we're all guessing the answer. But as I said to you earlier, Ash, I'd be on your side of the FTSE all day long. And, I see the VIX, I can see the bearish, the bullish pattern on the VIX. Well, it is pretty close to some horizontal resistance, some recent horizontal resistance at the moment, Chase.
And that's the thing, isn't
Monday
it?
Morning,
Yeah, and this is the thing about both the VIX and the S&P and the FTSE. They actually could still turn the other way. It's not binary by any stretch, and they could still turn the other way. And I think we get clarity on Wednesday morning. That's the time that I'm really looking forward to kind of going, where am I? I hope I'm not out of the market on my trade, but if I'm still in, then I think there's some decisions that I can make at that particular point, longer term.
Yeah, mate, and it's one of those things, isn't it? If you get established here, if you take the position, you get established. This position might last forever. You might get knocked over at break even, but you might be in a position for months. So, I just think it's a tactically a good place to be. Again, if you If you gave me the opportunity to wake up with a short on the FTSE tomorrow morning, I would take it. And if you asked me the opportunity to wake up with a long, let me see this earlier, right? It's like the oil trade we talked about a few months ago. My problem right now with it is that when I look at these markets, I see the upside being limited and the downside being limitless. It doesn't mean that it's going to go down, but the potential on the short side is pretty big. And
do you know, mate? I think that's the best way to put it. The upside is limited and the downside is limitless. I think that's a really good way to put it, and probably sums up the way that I'm thinking about this trade in a nutshell.
Ash, back to you, your FTSE monthly. One of the things I noticed on a technical basis, you had 3 up in a downtrend, and if the last bar, that one, the last bar, if that low was taken out, that's a technical short.
Oh God, yeah.
That's a technical setup. 3 up in a downtrend, and even though that going back 4 bars, that's a really, really strong trade down, and it's pulled back up and it's retested that level. It's broken. That is a technical setup for a short.
That monthly bar, Ash, it really plays out what you're talking about, right? This you get pull at 2 bullish days, and it closes above your entry, and that bar all of a sudden starts to look like we could be going up.
Yes.
You get 2 bearish days here, and it turns red.
Yes.
And the world's short, right? So these next 2 days, these next few days as we run towards
really important.
July, really are going to be important. And where this, and we talk so much, and guys, this is the stuff we take the stuff out of the classroom. What's the most important thing when you look at bars? Where they close is the most important thing in bars. And right now, 2 days out from the end of the month, for mine, this monthly bar means nothing. Where it goes in 2 days is going to tell us a hell of a lot about what could be coming.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And that really, that's why it's quite. I'm fortunate to be in the position I'm in. I'm fortunate that I've got a really good price on a market that either way will probably give me a message. Whether it goes above my price point, I'm probably getting a message that it's not going down, so no big deal, or it goes nowhere near my price point and I stick with it. So there's nothing worse than being in a trade and your price point being in a little bit of a kind of no man's land spot where it could be going higher and lower and higher and lower. But this price point I'm really happy with that price point. And I don't say that every time. It's just one of those that has the timing for this particular trade was just very good. My entry was just very, very good, and the way that things have established themselves after the entry, which I've got no control over, have helped. So I'm comfortable with the market going into next week, which is a lovely sort of like way to feel. I have to say, sort of if you have a good month and you've got a trade open, you don't really want that trade to kind of destroy your month, and it doesn't look like, unless I'm going to get a gap up, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah, you have to be up from here. I'd have thought to destroy your month, mate. Mate, Helen's saying that if Biden gets elected, it may well be a nice place to be in the FTSE. I would imagine that if Biden gets elected, by the time that happens, you'd be in a great spot to be. And mate, it's as you say, mate, it's it's lucky to be in a great position at a great time. We all have good luck and bad luck, right? So good luck for you. You're in a great spot on the FTSE. Everything looks great. Bad luck for you. You're painting your house with a 4-year-old assistant.
Yeah.
How's your insurance, Ash?
Oh, do you know what? There's already Lego in the paint pot, and it didn't last long before she got bored, and there was a Paw Patrol rescue where the Paw Patrol had to rescue the Lego from the paint, which I wasn't too happy about. But this is just going to be a long day, mate. It is going to be a long day. I can tell you that much.
Well, mate, the team are getting together for a quiet chat and possibly a drink for those interested in about 80 minutes. So if you're around, pop back and say hi for 5 minutes. There'll be a few of us having a quick chat. Lloyd has got some new discovery to share with us. He messaged me on Friday and I couldn't talk to him because I was away, and he told me he'd share it tonight. So I don't know what it is, but you know what it's like with Lloyd. If he's gone to the trouble to tell me he's found something new to talk about, it'll be fascinating first 20 minutes before a bourbon hits. Okay, man, I thought given that you were lucky to be in this position and unlucky to be painting the house with a 4-year-old, we should let you go. You've already been in the call earlier on, mate. Is this the stuff we need to know from you for today?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, there's stuff that we could talk about with stocks, but I don't think is relevant to this room. So we can talk about those next week.
Yeah, I'm quite keen to talk to you about some of the stock stuff at some stage. We might involve it a little bit more, mate. So, but for now, I think that's a cool place to leave it. Appreciate your time, mate. We've got you back on the 26th of July and the 23rd of August. We have a schedule now that goes on and on and on. For those of you in the room that want to keep an eye on this, as I said, every week for TTR, Jeff will be in doing technicals. Ains will be in doing gold and oil. I'll be in whenever I can be to host. We will have Chloe on TA on the 5th, Julian on the 12th. Paul Hutton joined us on the 19th. I saw him snuck into the room earlier. He's listening as well. Hopefully catching him for a version of The Gambler on 80 Minutes. And Ash is back on the 26th of July. Orlando joins us on the 2nd of August, and we're going around from there. So Chloe on the 5th, Julian on the 12th, Paul Hutton on the 19th, Ash on the 26th, and Orlando on the 2nd. If you're keeping a record of who'll be doing a TA in the show going forward, guys. By the way, guys, great to see so many people in. We've got this room packed up as always for this show, and the YouTube numbers are pretty good as well. Got a few likes on YouTube. We do like the likes on YouTube. I think they keep it in track. I'd like to help Ash and Jeff with their other show. By the way, Ash, just as I let you go, and I do need to get on to the next person. I'm just talking away here, but if they want to watch you live and free, it is $2.55 Singapore, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If they want to pay you live and watch you live and paid, it's $34, $34.95 a month. Email contact actions to Wealth, and it is 8:55 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right?
It is, yeah. And next week we are talking in the US show, the second show, about cryptocurrencies, which I think become even more important in the current climate that we're in. So we've got a cryptocurrency guest come actually as part of the listening team. So we're going to be talking to him. And yeah, as you know, we try and cover a broader subject matter in that particular show. There's only so much that we can get through in the free show because it's the UK Open. So it gets a little bit chaotic at times. There's so much movement, but the US show can be a little bit calmer. We take trades, but we can also focus on some other matters of subject. So cryptocurrencies and shares do get more discussed in those particular in that particular show.
Had some great feedback. I did some coaching on Thursday, and a couple of people who've been in your shows are just smashing. I mean, they're doing some other stuff as well, and it's nice to have this Julian process going on as well. Some people in that as well. Nice to see some people having a great time from it. I did want to say something about that session with the crypto. I can't remember what it was. It might have gone now. This week is you and Jeff. The week after that is Jeff. The week after that is you. The week after that's Jeff. And the week after, you'll tell them all that next week, right? They can get along and watch us on YouTube Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Free to one and all, 3 o'clock-ish on those dates, and subscription show from 9. Who's your crypto dude, mate?
Shukri is going to be in. Last week we had a friend of mine who's a crypto, what did he call himself? A crypto connoisseur, a guy called Mario, and he was discussing certain parts of the blockchain system, and Shukri seems to be even more of an expert than he is. So we're going to be talking to Shukri on Monday, and if it spills over to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and everybody wants to continue to talk about it, we will do so. And I think it really is important. I think we are potentially entering a phase of a possible financial shift. Who knows? We don't know what's coming, but it's worth being prepared. If there is going to be a change in the system, then we need to cover bases. And I think Jeff and I, along with everybody else, recognize the fact that we would like to get just a bit more educated on this stuff. So we're inviting people on board to share their information with us.
Right, for those of you on Fusion, they do offer 4 cryptocurrency pairs, not on the ATW educational accounts. I asked them to take the crypto off the ATW education account with the exotic Forex pairs. But if you have a live account with Fusion, you can pick up your crypto there and trade it. Leverage, not leverage like FX, but still leverage with those guys. One thing I will say, I do like the Fusion guys for their execution. They are bloody good.
Great execution, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, it makes such a difference, doesn't it? Everybody says their spreads are good, then they slip you a pip on the way in. And it's like, well, that's not much bloody good to me, right? But Fusion, you see the price, you get the price from what I can tell with them. I like them.
Yeah, look, I've been after that for probably 12 years. And it's the first time I've actually got it. So I'm happy.
He's a good man, Phil Horner. We're very lucky with both the brokers we deal with, IFS and Fusion. They both have some real pluses. We've done some work with IFS this week. They've offered to make some help for us around some rollover closes we've had recently. Both of them, to be honest, are bloody receptive and blooming helpful. Much appreciated. I feel like I've been handing over from Ash to Ainsley for about 20 minutes. Ainsley, let's talk gold first, then oil, then flowers. Let's keep it in that order. Gold, indeed. Breakout. Are we going to get up to around this 1920 high? Is that where we're going? What's happening with gold?
All right.
You need a chart, or you got a chart for us?
Yes, please. I need a chart.
See you soon, guys. I'll see
you, Ash.
See you soon. Have a good one.
Hey, cheers, Ash. Have a great day, mate. I'll talk to you soon. If I don't see you later on, eh?
Thanks, man. See you.
With a 4-year-old.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. Anyway, I did say that out loud.
Limited upside, Ainsley. Limited upside. Very much like the FTSE.
Thank you. All right, gold.
30 years from now, she's going to hear this
gold
one day.
chart.
She's going to be listening back to some stuff. She's going to hear this stuff and go, "What were you saying about me, Daddy?"
Love Molly. You got to bring it. You got to bring it next time.
Right. We'll talk about trading retreat on Wednesday night. Look, Ainsley, I don't think it's been missed by a lot of people, but second highest monthly close of all time if we start this level.
Monthly, yeah. It is
second highest
actually
monthly close if we stay here.
Slow down. Okay, so I think I was bleating on last Sunday night about I really believe that with everything that I've read, everything that I'm looking at, everything that I've researched, gold's going higher, and boy, did it go higher.
Gutted to be taken out, to be honest.
Look, I had, as you know, I've had a couple of trades on the fund, and it came back and it still made profit, but not what I wanted to do because there was a really severe pullback. That pullback was in relation to what was happening on the S&P. The S&P, and I truly believe it was the S&P had a really major pullback with Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, General Electric, Coca-Cola, just all these companies were just going down 4%, 5%, 3%, 5%, 4%, and it was just continual. It was just kept hitting the news waves, and I think what was happening there was people covering shorts, doing whatever. But then all of a sudden there was this whole bang, and it turned around, and I've got to say it was around. It must have been around about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning Sydney time, because I looked at it and went, yeah, okay, that's coming back. It's rechecking levels, and I was actually quite confident. Yeah, can I get a line across that bottom line? Yeah, right. Can I get a horizontal line across there, please, Paul? Yeah, no doubt. Down a bit further to the bottom of that green bar. Yeah. Hello. Look at that. Look at that. Came back. And one of the things with gold and trading gold, and this is why you have to have wide stops. This is not trading currencies. You do not trade gold like trading currencies. Your pip spread is on a good day around 40 to 50 pips. On a bad day, when it blows out, it can be up to like we had about a month and a half ago. It was 800 to 1,000 pips. You've got to be on the front foot with gold. It's not the kind of trade that you put on and leave and say, oh, gee, I hope that works. It will take you out, it will cut you up, and it will spit you out. But that's what happened. Look, it came back, tested that level, and turned around. And look at those 2 hours of those 2 bars where it came down, had a very vicious sell-off when all the S&P and people are trying to cover shorts and taking their money out of their safe havens and straight back in. And that was done. Mnuchin then, I've got to double check the timing on this, but Mnuchin also announced that the US government are sending to the Hill for a passing of the bill for further stimulus in the economy and to prop up those companies that have been COVID-19 affected. So they're going to try and stimulate the economy, and things are looking a little better and all the rest of it. But that doesn't mean the bigger companies that have taken a really big hit are going to take any benefit of that. that's the news. As you can see on that big bar coming down, that was when one after the other was just, we're down 4%, 5%, 6%. We're just not doing well. Hits a certain level, hits that level, and bang, straight back up again. That close, and you can see to the left, there are some other closes, but the close that we had on Friday night, the daily close, if you go to a daily close, Paul, because you're now on hourly.
Oh yeah, I was away for a second. The daily
That's
close
all right.
on Friday night. Yep.
That daily close on Friday night was the highest we've had in nearly 8 years.
And
Now, what it tells you is, one, if it closes below that 1750 level on Monday, we're in all sorts of trouble, and you say hello to 1650. But that bar, which is a very, very strong upward moving bar, which is also straight into is that your monthly resistance up there?
that's EMA2, isn't it? Monthly resistance there's weekly resistance 1. So it's overwritten. There's 2 levels there, yeah. So
Yeah, I can barely
there's
see
monthly
on there.
pivot. So that'll be monthly resistance 1 and weekly resistance 2.
Yeah. So we're
So
going
nice
into
compliant, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice area for it to find,
we're also coming into the end of the month. So what we can see is possibly a bit of a pullback, and then off it goes. Like I said, all the reports, and Julie and I have had these backwards and forwards discussions about it's going down, it's going down. I'm just like, no, don't think it is. Wednesday, he conceded defeat on that in a very qualified way.
He's in the room. I'll have a chat with him about it after this cross saying to see what else he's looking at. He's just done
Yeah, I think
finished this
conceded
session.
defeat is a slightly different interpretation of where I came from with it.
Yeah, you said you made money on the short, and I made money on the long, and that's good. We both made money because we're at different levels. But what happens next is going to be interesting. Going to be really interesting. I'm a nervous bull. I believe a lot of it's going to go to 2000. Let's just get to 1800 first. If it goes to 1800, we're looking good. If it turns around and and it's going to pull back from that level of resistance, not surprising.
There's very little, isn't there, between this level here and that level there. It's just really hard. If it doesn't get back below that on,
yeah, that's
if it doesn't get back below where we are, below this on Friday, on Monday, sorry,
we're good.
It's hard to imagine not having a look at 1825. I mean, and you've got to be really careful saying that kind of stuff because you are talking about historical highs.
Exactly.
And, gold doesn't go there every day or anything, but it does look like it's going there to me, and again, market sentiment will move gold more than anything else. So we shouldn't be crazy about it, but that's the look. So Ainsley,
it's also very safe. It's also very safe. And as we know, it's your basic, and it sounds boring and very cliche, but it's a safe haven, It is, and people like it because it's shiny and it's gold. I like it because
you like it because it's shiny and it's gold.
I like to wear it. I like to hug it. It's good. It's my gig, I'm a girl.
Yeah. Look, it's got flowers as well.
Hang on, I'm going to talk oil first before I can talk flowers.
Look, we're going to talk oil. I did have a question for you about it. I get myself distracted. I've got a bit going on at the moment.
What, you just surprised?
People like it. The other thing, look, one of the things I've been doing with it is I was using it as just a bit of a safety net around an indice long I was in. I was an S&P long, and I just felt that gold gave me that if you're concerned the indices can sell off quickly, that gold gave me some level of safety if it did. And
bit of a hedge.
It hasn't done it.
Yeah,
a bit of a hedge. And it's weird because you just kind of feel like if the stocks go up, gold could go up. And if the indices sell off quickly, gold will go up. And it's hard to find a really bearish argument other than the fact it's well overextended from anything at the moment. So we're going to talk oil, and I think we're going to talk Brent, aren't we?
Look, go to I hate your WTI.
I'll just change over Fusion. It's okay. I've got to.
Am
I sharing that? Am I sharing Fusion? Do I have to jump in here and change the? You,
Do
you,
Fusion because I just prefer the XTI rather than the futures numbers.
let me get some more space here. XTI. So this is a small live account.
Down.
And there's
Thank
your
you.
XTI. And for those that were asking earlier on about the cryptos, they are at the bottom here. I think it's Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin are the ones that they carry live. Ash was talking about putting an expert into a show on crypto, Julian. I was going to say your son's a bit of an expert on crypto, isn't he?
Yeah, he likes to trade it quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it does
It's
okay.
a bit of a funk recently because it's just going sideways in a big consolidation pattern.
Yeah, I've got to say, I like the fact our guys are talking about it. I can't say I'm a fan of it right now, but that's old people, right? Old people can be hard to convince to do anything. Ainsley, let me get
I'm with you with Jeff. It's going to be an arms trader.
Yeah, straight blank chart.
Could we go to for Ali? Yeah. So I did a run. Yeah, thanks. I did a run up, and at the top of that that high, that ringed high that we're looking at, the top one, I did a run up to that, and that is monthly resistance. So as soon as I saw that, I was in and out and I was gone. But look what happened thereafter. We had a proper ring high. You've got to run up, and with a ring high, you need three things. You need a rally up, you need a high test and a reversal, and that's that reversal bar, and then you need a close below the low of that reversal bar, and that's what you've got. So I got a short on the oil, I got a long on the oil, I got a short on the oil. I got in the short in the oil. I didn't get out soon enough. It bounced on me. I'm still short, and I still believe with all the fundamentals that are backing the oil at the moment, it's still going to continue to go short. And that's because we still have the capacity storage, which is a storage and capacity issue that is still in the background, which people have very, very kindly and very neatly just stepped over. But we've got
ignoring it, aren't they?
They're ignoring it, but we've got countries still pumping. They're still pumping, and we're looking at a lot of countries just looking at it, standing on the precipice of going, hey, we had 6,000 cases overnight. Actually, that was Florida, 6,000 something cases of new cases of COVID-19 tested positive. We've got the US, and they're talking about very blithely, oh, we're going to open next month because it's summer. And I just don't get it, because the whole thing is this pandemic is going to keep going, and what is going to happen is countries are going to close overnight. This is going to get out of control, and they'll just say, no, we can't do this anymore. As soon as that happens, and this is where the oil market is really, really sensitive to this kind of news, it will close overnight and go bang, no more. And everything shuts down because we can't have another 1,000 deaths per day. We can't have another 300 deaths in New York City per day. We can't do that kind of thing. And it will be that knee-jerk reaction to you can't keep going. And as soon as the manufacturing closes down, the travel is not back up. I was reading an article the other day. California has just hit where by 2035, they are going to wipe out 17.3 trillion cubic, whatever it is, of CO2, carbon emissions. That means a reduction in fuel by trucks alone of $6 billion. What do you think that's going to do to the oil industry?
Yeah, look,
so that's California. That's a bill that's just been signed where they're just going to cut, and I don't know, maybe start looking at investing in electric trucks, because that's the way it's going, because that is California, and they're just saying that alone is going to cut $6 billion out of their fuel equation. That's huge.
Well, it is huge. It'll be again, we will watch and see in the next week. Here's what I got so far out of this. FTSE, I think we're nervously short. Gold,
yeah.
I think we're more comfortably long, and
Yes.
oil we're nervously short.
Yeah, we've closed. Right? We've closed the gap.
Closed the gap. We're pleased with that.
Gap's closed, and now a lot of people are now turning. If you read a lot of the commercial traders reports and the hard end of stuff, they're just saying they kind of it's gone as high as it has, and that's why we've had that pullback one, and then we're looking for the second to bring it back down to another level. So you're looking at probably 33, 31 is probably your next level. And after that, it gets wishy-washy to 20-ish dollars. But
okay.
Be really careful trading that. And with Brent, I know it's a sort of stats, but look, WTIs want to keep an eye on because that's the most sensitive at the moment.
There we go. Okay, Ainsley, and you got flowers?
I did get flowers. That's what you get for just sitting looking like a bit of a wreck outside a cafe with a girlfriend, and a guy came up and said, he walked past us twice, and then he came up and he said, I just wanted to say, he went and got flowers, and he came back and said to me, this is on Friday, I just wanted to let you know I thought you looked lovely, and gave him a bunch of flowers. And I just went, thank you very much.
There's got to be worse days than that, doesn't there? That's not the worst thing that can happen on a day.
Well, that's when 30 seconds, a minute later, I went and got my car from the car wash. They'd sprayed water in the battery and it wouldn't start. So
I'm surprised it wasn't there to offer you a lift, to be honest.
I wasn't doing any lift. I just want my car jump started. That's all.
Nicola Making Electric Semi. Thanks for, and by the way, Crystal, thanks for posting into the chat. It is easy if you guys can post your questions into the chat. We can do the Q&A, but the chat is where we tend to keep a bit of a closer eye on. Nicola Making Electric Semi Trucks, penny stock took off. That's good to know.
Yeah, what a surprise, Crystal.
About stocks later on, I have a feeling. Look, Julian, anything from you before we get to Jeff and do some technicals? We're 45 minutes in. I'm keen to hear from Julian, have a chat with Jeff, get to the staff, unofficial meeting.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Julian, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good, thanks, and hello, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Ainsley, for introducing me so gloriously on talking about gold. I really appreciate that. I did concede this week that the gold market, as always, there's what I think and what I do in terms of my trading, and what I did on Monday as I went long. So we'll see how that works out. So far, so good.
Interesting on gold, Julian, watching you, because you just trade. I watch your record, and I reckon in your trade call group, your record on gold is astronomical.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. I haven't actually done the maths, but if it tracks anything like my usual trades, then it should be running reasonably successfully. So, fingers crossed.
We should give you the link and have a look, because we had to stop valuing gold at a cent a pip on your record because it would have made your record ridiculously good. So we value it at a pip every 10 cents in gold when we do your equation to keep it equal to 4x, so that you don't make. Otherwise, you were going to make like 10,000 pips in a couple of weeks last year. We had to sort of go, that was just going to look ridiculous. Let's just cut it back a little bit. Mate, so.
Okay, so why don't I just look long term, as I always have been. I am a gold bull, and I have been for as long as I can remember, and I think I've been pretty public about that. Yep. My concerns are always what they are, is with gold, is that it's very overowned, and people have pretty much discounted everything in that gold price right now. So the question is, what's left? What's left is the last move up, and we could see this thing continue to go. And right now, there's no reason whatsoever to be short of it. It's just trading higher, right?
I've got a question for you, mate, and that's maybe Ainsley, but if you happen to be with Fusion, you've got a gold US dollar, you've got gold euro, and gold Aussie. Now, would you have one you preferred?
Good question, actually. Well, seeing as I've Seeing as I'm very much of the camp that I'm not a US dollar bull anymore, you can see from all of those, just looking at those ones, the euro and the Aussie had a much deeper retracement recently. Gold in euro and gold in Aussie, a much deeper retracement recently, and probably interesting. And it may be that they're a better one to sell if you're going to go short. But for the time being, the one to buy is the one trading the strongest, and right now that actually looks like the one in US dollars. So I think it's also a vote around what's going on in US dollars. So I've been doing quite a bit of research recently. The very quick 20 seconds on this, guys, is that I've always been concerned over the last 18 months about the scale of the US dollar shorts in the world, and it wasn't being addressed. Well, actually, I think the Fed has addressed that now. And in fact, so much so that I think they maybe have over-addressed it. It seems like if you want a 100 billion foreign exchange swap line these days, you just have to send the Fed a postcard and they just give you 100 billion just like that if you're foreign central bank. So it appears to me that just sign it Adrian Orr and you'll be fine, Paul. It appears to me that the way the markets are trading right now, that it wouldn't be an understatement to say that with the amount of dollars washing around the system, it's not that surprising that the other currencies are doing much better compared to the US dollar. So what does that mean? Right, that means to me that I'm a bull on the euro. I think we've had a consolidation. We're coming to the end of that now. I'm also bullish on the Japanese yen. So I think dollar yen goes lower, but we'll cover that in a second. So I think somewhere in here is a buy signal in the euro. And just looking at that, for those technical guys out there, that looks, if you go to a slightly, exactly. If you look at that chart, that looks more and more like a bull flag. And maybe Jeff can talk about that when he comes into the session later on. But I'm not seeing a huge amount of negativity in that. It's really just a question of where you buy it at the moment. And I'm conscious that we've only done the 382 retracement, which means in that case, we should go and print those old highs from that previous period of time back in March without really touching the sides if we do start to rally again. So the target's definitely up at that, what is that, 115 area, something like that, a little bit even higher, Paul.
Up into this area up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think 114.97. We can call it 115, I reckon, Julian.
Yep, exactly. So somewhere up there, I think is probably where we're going to end up going, but we haven't started that move yet. So it may be coming soon. We'll just keep an eye on that. Maybe we have to get through half year end, and maybe it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday trade next week. Cool. I agree with Ainsley around oil. I'm really nervous about oil for similar reasons, but I'm very bullish oil long term. To counter her argument about California, I think that the whole world is pretty convinced that in 10 years' time that we're going to be driving a lot less petrol-driven cars. And certainly relatively, we'll be driving a lot more electric cars, well, mainly because they're just better. So the better is already coming, and it's coming this year. The just as good is there already, and the better's now coming this year. So we'll see a huge shift because the price of electric cars is going to fall below the price of combustion engines vehicles, which, if you think about the technology there, it's taken 15 years of electric vehicle technology to get the price below 120 years of petrol technology and investment. So that just goes to show that the latest trends are really telling you that there's something new going on in that transportation space, and it's going to be something worth seeing. And the reason why I'm still bullish on oil is because I think the Saudis and the Russians and everybody else will stop making oil and start making plastics. So, which then means there'll be less supply of oil around. And don't forget that shale, for all its marvelous amount of oil that it's producing out the ground now, most shale fields have an average life of 5 years. So unlike a normal oil field, which has an average life of about 25 years, the shale fields literally are, they have to pump it out fast because it depletes really, really quickly. So I think the depletion rate's something like 40% per annum, something completely crazy from when they first get up to full capacity. It comes off plateau almost immediately. So very interesting. There's some dynamics going on there, which I think will really affect the US shale market over the course of the next 3 or 4 years. Notwithstanding the fact that nobody's lending anybody any money in America right now, especially people who want to drill holes in the ground. So that will stop this. So the rig counts are down, which means that the amount of shale oil being produced is down. So supply is down. and we're seeing other cuts elsewhere. So in the medium term, that'll be bullish. Short term, this is a demand problem, and the oil market has rallied like crazy in the face of what essentially is apparently a rebounding economy, but I'm not too convinced about that, the same way that Ainsley isn't. It appears that just about only Australia and New Zealand appear to have the COVID thing under some semblance of control.
That was a great stat, wasn't it, Julian? Australia's got 37 cases, 37 new cases, and they're panicking, and the US has got 41,000 and they're calm. One of them's got it wrong.
Exactly right. Well, you should see what 10 new cases does to New Zealand.
Yes, we weren't too happy on here, were we?
No, I think that's it could almost be a change of government. So yeah, look, guys. So overall, that's my key things here that I've been talking about. A couple of markets I put on watch for you is sterling Aussie. I think there could be a turn coming there to the upside, and also just been looking through a few things. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar is a crazy cross that trades really strong at the moment. So that looks like that's going higher as well too, maybe targeting the 89.90 area. We'll see what happens. It may sit there in its funk for another few weeks.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't seem to want to come down at the moment. That's got a very bull flag.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because on a daily chart, it looks, quite toppy. But you get out to the monthly chart, and it's got plenty of historic space for being high, doesn't it?
Oh, look at that. Yeah, we could easily go, what are those old monthly highs? 97?
Yeah, look, well, if you want to pop up again, you're 99, but if you want to get into this sort of, it's hit a few times around 95. Does have, obviously, as always, anything that's going to go up is going to have to take out something along the way, and it's going to have to find this at some point and have a crack at it. But, that is another flaggy looking thing.
Yeah, so just keep those things in mind, guys, around just what I'm seeing out there at the moment. And so we were also just looking at that in my coaching, just looking at the dollar CAD in my coaching session as well too. That's showing quite an interesting short-term move.
Dollar CAD?
Just the dollar CAD going a little higher at the moment. I think maybe Jeff's going to have something to say about that one as well too, I would imagine. So
interesting. It's some nice stuff, eh? It's an interesting market, isn't it, Julian? It's not an easy market. It's just an interesting market.
Exactly. And so, and I still maintain my short bias towards dollar yen, but just not at the moment. So we did have that on in the broadcast group. We covered it in the 106, I think 106.50 ish, something like that.
Didn't you? You got out of it down around here, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was a fortunate cover, and now I'm looking at what to do next. But I'm still bearish on this. I think there's plenty of dollars around, and there aren't enough yen. So I think that's going to go low at some point. Purchasing power parity is around about 101 to 97. So I could easily see it back down way below your chart. So quite possible for that thing to go through the buck, I think, at some point over the course of the next few months.
Nice, eh? And perhaps immediate target would be down here.
Yeah,
I like that.
There's a real seasonal bias for the dollar yen to go down this time of year between now and the end of August.
Fantastic, awesome, mate. Anything else, mate?
No, that's me.
Cheers, mate. Much appreciated. I was telling them earlier, Julian, that we've now got we've got organised. We've got a roster, and that we have got different people coming in for each of the shows. He says as he quickly runs through his Skype to find the right chat. Chloe, in next week, you're on the week after, Julian on the 12th to do a little bit more as well. We may see you each week if you want to pop in, but you'll be headlining, if you like, on the 12th. Thanks for coming along, mate. Your sessions go well today?
Yeah, no, it did. Thank you. Yeah, look, and as always with these things, when I come along on the 12th, everybody, if you could prepare some questions in advance, have a think about what you want to talk about, then that's always really useful for me to do some framing. And we'll just have a scoot around the world as we always do, but maybe go into things a little bit more depth on some of the fundamental side and maybe some of the trading side as well too.
Mate, I did some coaching on Thursday. Entertaining day of coach. One of the more extreme days of coaching I've ever done. I think that some of the people I coached, possibly all but one, were in profit, and I got a bit of stick here and there in the coaching as well, which is interesting. But one of the people in your session, mate, joined us in December. Boy, can she trade! Wow, spent half an hour with her and went, wow. She is So it was 17% up, trading at 1/4% risk. So 1% risk, it'd be up 60% since she joined us in December. And boy, spent some time in that. In fact, really with the people in this show, and we've got some great people all through the business. I imagine that Master Trader weekend you guys have just been through with, for those who've been with Paul, Lloyd, and Jeff, that will have been an awesome couple of days. This lady's in your group, Julian, and has done a bit of time with Ash and Jeff in the UK session. And boy, it's not even the amount she's up that fascinates me. It is just how good a trader she is. Half an hour
Those
through,
girls are good traders.
I was nearly asking her questions half an hour and I was like, she knows her stuff. My gosh. Great to see, isn't it? It's always nice when it's always nice just to get some affirmation things are going well for some people. And it was a really good Thursday. We a lot of people who were up a little bit, and they seem to be breaking out. We seem to be breaking out of this. These people who are plus or minus 1% a month seem to be getting to between plus 2% and break even a month. We just seem to be breaking those people out at the moment and seeing some people have some success that have been battling along for a little while. It is nice to see. And you get someone like that and you think, boy, that is 6 months. And, just the knowledge going through charts, just like, whoa, amazing. I think it's incredible how much as we go on, and this isn't just about us, but how much more quickly people are learning the stuff that we're teaching. Stunning. On that note, Julian, thanks for your time and thanks for taking that session, mate. They look like they are really enjoying that. We've had feedback from everybody in your group, and they are loving it. Gets me to Jeff. Anything else before I hand over to Jeff?
Not for me, apart from saying thank you, Paul.
Oh, thank you, mate. It's great. We are very, very lucky to have traders of the quality we do in this organisation helping people out. We are a very fortunate group. Jeff, how was Master Trader?
Master Trader is always fun, mate. We get to share some knowledge there, and we get to share some experience. We get some marvelous questions in the show.
Yeah.
And the frustrating part is you just don't get to, I suppose, spend as much time as you'd want on each particular area of the methodology you're trying to get across to people. And that's a little bit frustrating, but outside of that, you really can't go on for a day and a half. I've got to have a breather, I've got to have lunch and all those sorts of things. So you just can't imagine going on for 8 hours with one person. It's a tough thing.
I remember when we did that, we used to teach Slingshot over a day, and people would complain about it was repetitive and boring and all the rest of it. And now we squeeze it in a little bit. But boy, mate, you're producing some good traders, aren't you? The team. I meant to send a message before I went for a couple of days off on Friday, and so the team, boy, hats off to them. They're doing a bloody good job at the moment. I'm super proud of them.
Yeah, getting very rewarding. I have one of the people in the strategy leader coaching section that we do at the moment on the Slingshot, and we're struggling with trading across multiple pairs. And as you know, and most people who've been through the Slingshot will know, this was designed around one currency pair, euro dollar, because it essentially is the most traded currency pair, and to my mind the most reliable in terms of trading technically. And I just steered that person back to euro dollar, and maybe one other, maybe Aussie dollar as well, maybe even pound dollar. But I think pound dollar is a little bit different, certainly in this day and age. And it's almost overnight that improved. And I was very, very happy with that. That really makes me smile.
Yeah, mate, it's cool, isn't it? It's yeah, mate. It's really nice. Had Jordan just had someone ask about the SPX. Any thoughts from you on SPX?
Yeah, just a quick 1 minute on that side, Jeff, to interrupt you mid-flight. So S&P for this week, normally coming into the Independence Day holiday, it's normally quite a bullish time. So it has about an 85% success rate being long this week. Again, caveats, you got to know the stops and do your homework and everything else. After about the 10th, 12th calendar date, so call it the 13th calendar date of July, I am very, very nervous about stocks.
Yeah, I'm S&P long and I'm closing her out. Not far away, if that adds anything to it. Cheers for that, Julian. And sorry, Jeff. one of the comments that Helen made, and Helen, thanks for coming out of Q&A into chat. And Mike, I'm sorry your questions late. The questions on chat show up, and the questions on Q&A we've got to find, so it takes us a while longer to get to them. Helen was saying that the TTR show really helps, Jeff, that if we're going to teach the slingshot in limited time, which we do now, there's always a chance to do the extra, long-term stuff for those who want to learn it in huge detail and learn the extra parts of it. But she did say that, coming out of the YouTube show, they're at least familiar with it when they start, which really helps. I think it's a really valid point,
Absolutely. And thanks, Helen. I agree with you. It has to help, because to watch somebody trade the strategy versus just talk about it is a completely entirely different kettle of fish. And that's why we do the YouTube show, so you can actually see us put it into practice. And we, of course, in Strategy Leader Coaching, go the next level again, and we introduce a whole new concept of actually trading the strategy. But, yep, thank you very much for the comment.
We've got a bit extra coming for you on that, because you and Orlando are the only two that we allow to do a little bit more, where you guys have chat groups as part of your Strategy Leader Coaching. And we are going to set you guys up with your own, we've purchased a chat program. So we're about 2 to 3 weeks away when we have the new website going with the new graduates area. And the new content management program all goes in. We've bought a new chat area, so we better take you guys out of Skype, for instance, have you guys have your own personal private chat area for Slingshot moving forward. Mate, we're doing all this stuff. What we're not doing is talking about charts. I know you want to get into some chart stuff. Mate, last week was a pretty amazing week for Slingshot. This week looked like it would have been a bit tougher to me. How'd you go?
Oh, you're right. Absolutely frustrating. We finished up in front, but we had to wait a long time to actually achieve that. And that, I guess, is a part of learning how to trade as well. For those people who have been in YouTube, they're probably going, when's this prick going to trade something? And I get that. We're not there to entertain you, frankly. We're there to educate you and help you make money. So it took till probably Thursday before I actually found a trade to take. And when we did that, that was worth waiting for at the end of the day. Although we haven't completed that trade yet, I think it's Euro Swissy, and we're on the short side of that. But we're at a strong support level where we took profit, so we're doing okay. But we could do a lot better. I just wanted to update you on a couple of positions that I suggested you guys might like in the last couple of weeks. Pound CAD was one of them. If you recall, we tried an OCO trade with you guys. We were trading long above the monthly pivot, and we were trading short below the weekly pivot, and we were trading breakout, obviously. I'm still in that trade. For those of you who have asked through the sessions that I do, then we are still in that trade. We've taken profit, clearly, because that's what we do. In fact, we've taken 2 lots of profit on this, so we should be well and truly in front, and we're looking for that to go shorter now. Everything is for free from this point on. The reason I wanted to get into this trade, as I said before, was I thought there was a massive amount of upside if we broke to the high side, but there was a far better amount of downside if we broke to the short side. And we've managed to get into the short, and we've just got to hang on here for dear life until we get down to this level. And if we do, that's been an extremely good trade for us. So just wanted to update you on that one. Last week, I suggested that you take Aussie Kiwi short on the weekly chart, trading underneath this bar. This wasn't an OCO. This was just a clear short. As you can see, we haven't even managed to get halfway down to our entry point at this stage. Still got that in place. Probably shouldn't have. That should have expired by the end of the week. And that's exactly what I'll do tomorrow morning. If it hasn't gapped down here and taken us in a bad situation, then I will cancel that order, but that's still in place. So if you're still wondering about that, it's time to cancel that and reload. Now, my bias on this is still short, I've got to say. And the reasons I've been harping about are purely fundamental, really. And they're around Australia versus China and nothing else. So I just want to be in the market if it happens, when it happens. And that's why I'm trying to find a way in to this particular trade, Aussie Kiwi, because I think what's happening with Aussie and New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand are in very similar positions in terms of coming out of COVID-19 from an economic standpoint, in very, very much the same position. But if the threats that China are continuing to put on Australia's economy actually come to fruition, and I don't mean the pissant little things that they're talking about and have been talking about, like barley tariffs and beef tariffs. I mean, they're significant, but guess what? Australia's got different markets for those, so they can fill those orders somewhere else. But if we start talking seriously about things like coal and iron ore in particular, then this changes very, very quickly. So if China start to actually put their foot on the pedal, then Australian US dollar in particular, but in my mind against the Kiwi in particular as well, because they're on an equal standing, will disappear and go below parity very, very quickly. So that's the basis of why I'm trying to find a way in here. I don't want to do it recklessly. Sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Jeff, I was just going to add to that. The other thing that's popped up during this week is the amount of Chinese investment in the South Pacific Asia countries. And Australia is actually trying to offset that and combat that. And so is New Zealand. So there's a lot of money being thrown into the Pacific nations that are really struggling with the lack of tourism at the moment. So they're trying to combat China on that front as well. So it's just an additional thing that they're watching China very, very closely. So supporting what you're saying, it's just that as well. It's just in there and they're trying to juggle the balls. But China has been trying to get into a lot of the South Pacific countries like Fiji and Tonga and Samoa and all these other countries that are really struggling from the lack of tourism with and they're paying for infrastructure, roads and all the rest of it. And it's not necessarily Vanuatu or New Caledonia, because one, they're nickel plated and one, they're French based. But yeah, in addition to that, the big stuff, but they're fighting China on absolutely every front. So from what you're saying, yeah, absolutely. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem at all. I love the insights, and I think it's pretty much the world versus China at the moment. They're having little spats with everybody, and I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories in any way, shape, or form. But I'll say this: the Chinese are and have been over a long period of time very, very smart at positioning themselves. I'll leave it at that. And I don't see a good outcome if the likes of Scott Morrison want to take on the likes of Xi Jinping. I think there's only one winner there, and I've been saying that for quite some time.
It's not Scotty.
No, poor old Scotty. He's just not going to make the cut, I don't think. Anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with Aussie. I think the best currency to trade it against, if you are of the same opinion as me, is the Kiwi, because I think otherwise they're on a very, very level standpoint. So let's go to the euro. That's not the euro, mind you. That's the euro. And I've got no idea why I've got that little line there, but it doesn't really matter. The euro is super interesting, as it always is. And I've got an opinion based on what I think the US dollar is going to do, which will point in the direction of what I think the euro is going to do. And what I think the US dollar is going to do is I still think it's got a little bit left in it, because it's approaching a resistance level. And I don't have a dollar index chart at my disposal, unfortunately, but you'll find that there's a now resistance level, which was support on one of my funky charts, which has got false breaks on it and all the rest of it, which suggests to me that around about 98.15 or thereabouts is the ceiling for the dollar index at the moment. So for that, and we're about 60, 70 cents away from that, or pips away from that. So what that means to me is I still think euro dollar's got a little bit of short in it, maybe down to the monthly pivot. And this could happen over the period of the next few days into the end of the week, into July. And then I see this on a pretty massive rebound. It's interesting that this is a cloud of a price, of course, but you can see it's come back to retest the break of that descending channel. Tried to go higher, but I think the dollar strength last week has obviously put a cap on that as well. I'm not real sure.
Sorry, I think Dennis just let you know your dollar index was 97.5. So still around that area.
Dennis. Yep. Yeah. So I think it's got probably about 60, 70 pips left in it, the dollar index, before it hits that resistance level that I'm talking about. I wish I could show that chart to you, but I can't at the moment. So this, in terms of what happens next, is I'm not sure where that level is that we're going to bounce off for euro dollar, but it's probably in that vicinity there, around about 111.50. It may be a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, but it's in that vicinity. So we're not far from it. And that kind of goes with what I'm talking about. If the dollar index has got a little bit to go higher, then this should go a little bit lower before it bounces. So I'll be looking in this vicinity. I hate the fact that we've still got an untested monthly pivot below us, but guess what? In 2 days' time, we don't have a monthly pivot below us, or in 3 days' time, because it will be the end of the month. And by definition, that will change and go up here somewhere. So that would be really nice if the monthly pivot went to about there. And I know I can predict that by going to the to the software, but I got a funny feeling it won't be far from there, to be honest. And if it were to be there, then I think by Wednesday, I'll really be looking for this to go long, interestingly. Right now, I think I've just got to hang around and see what happens. I don't know. I haven't got that level on the chart right now. The Aussie we've been speaking about, and this is kind of the same scenario. And of course, if you're trading against the US dollar, you're going to have the same opinion. Sorry, I'm going to have the same opinion. What I see here is...
Do you want me to show your dollar index at some stage?
Can I?
Do you want me to show it? I've got it on.
Oh, have you got it? Yeah, that'd be great.
So, mate, I actually don't know anymore. If one of the team can tell me the company TradingView logins, that would be great, and I'll get a proper version of it up. But I've just got a
investing.com's got one.
Oh, I've got we have a TradingView subscription. I used to run a thing on there, and there's your DXY channel. DXY chart. It's been a while since I've been on TradingView. I used to write that stuff on there for those guys, but on the crypto stuff for them. But I haven't been on there for some time, and I'm trying to work out how to get it out of line.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not the best either. In fact, I'm hopeless on it.
Overview chart, fully featured chart. Must have an option to get out of here. Oh, I don't want that. Nope, don't want that. Now you keep talking about it, and I'll see if I can find anything, okay?
All right, okay. Look, it's not that important to find that level, but if you can, happy days. It's around about 98.15, I think, thereabouts, 98.15, 98.20. And it's not necessarily evident on the horizontal levels. As I said, it's one of my funky doodah things where I've got a false break cutting across a support trade line. So it's a confluence area that I do like, and it's the one I've chosen as the bounce point. So the same is going to apply with Aussie dollar. And if I go to the daily chart on Aussie dollar, I think you can see that we've come off the high here, which is around about 70-30 mark, 70.35. It's hard to read on this chart, I must admit.
Oh, mate, we're back on your chart?
Oh, no, we're not. Sorry. We can.
Well, do you want to go back to you? What are we doing, buddy?
Can you find that level?
What's the level you wanted?
78.15-ish.
On Aussie?
On dollar index.
78.15. 98.
Sorry, 98.15.
Gosh, mate, I'm struggling to get down there. 98.
Sorry, I was about to jump in.
That could be where it goes, but
there's 98.14 because my hand can't quite. There we go. So, but I can see a bit on that. What I'm going to try and do is just see if I can bring that along a little bit. There must be a way for me to bring in some extra data, but I just don't know these charts well enough. Lloyd uses these quite a lot, and I say I wrote some articles on crypto on this for a guy for a while, but that was just write some stuff and publish it and get followers for him.
Okay,
well, ago now.
On the weekly chart, there's a support trend line that comes up through that V-shaped recovery, and there's a resistance trend line that comes down through that V-shape.
Hold on, mate. There we go. Here's a weekly chart. What are you looking for? Looking for a...
Yeah, it's the first point's off your chart, but it goes through that that low just before the big spike down.
We're coming from here?
It doesn't look like my chart.
So there's a trend line runs up through there.
Okay, the extreme bottom, come up one swing. Come up one swing low.
I got one swing low. I got no idea how to do that. You've got to be kidding.
No, the start of your trend line needs to come up one swing low.
There?
That's the end of your trend line. The start of your trend line. Yeah, that one. I
think you're delayed, which is making this even more complicated when I do it.
I'm sure it is.
So on YouTube, I still haven't moved, and on my computer, it's all. Is that what you want?
No, come up past the V shape, and then pick up the next higher low.
From the bottom here.
Yep, come up.
Not this low.
No.
Come up to.
Yeah, that low. Move that low. Straight up the chart now.
Move right.
Come past the neckline if you like.
Move right.
Keep going. I told you it was one of my funky doodah ones.
Yeah.
You can use that one, or you can use that one. That's the one.
It's a left or right kind of thing, Jeff. Tell him left or right.
Yeah, stay where you are. Go back to where you were.
While you're saying this, yeah. You guys are doing this about 15 seconds after I've done it.
There's a bullish engulfing bar just back from where you were, but that one will do. It's close enough. Swing it up.
Yeah, we can't do this because the instructions are coming well after I've done what I'm doing.
Yeah, understand. Now swing it up. Next one up. Go back. Sorry, keep arcing up. Right. Now go to the high on the left, the extreme high on the left. No. Sorry, leave that trade line. Yep. New trade line. Got it. Right. Come down one swing. This is impossible. With the start of your trend line, come down one swing high. That's the end of your trend line, the start of your trend line.
You keep saying that, and I'm in a completely different place to you, doing something completely different. You'll get to where I am in a few minutes.
That's it. That's perfect.
Brilliant. Where do you want me to go?
I want you to go through the I can't see the date. Just where you pass September, there's a third high in a row there. Perfect.
I've moved it since you said perfect. I think you mean this one here.
No, next one down.
No, next one down. Yeah.
There. So you'll see there's a confluence there somewhere.
Hilarious, isn't it, Helen?
Yeah. Look, he's just loving telling me what to do for the first time in 12 years. He
awesome.
Telling me what to do.
It's like one giving the other street directions. It's impossible to listen to.
Honestly, it's like trying to get home. It's like trying to get home in Bali at 3 o'clock in the morning with him. You've got no chance at all.
It's good.
How did we end up on Noosa Beach? No idea.
No idea. Yeah, okay, so
right, so
okay.
we've actually got the wrong.
What have we done?
Wrong
We've got trend lines that actually aren't quite right.
There's a confluence between the support trend line and the horizontal trend line.
Yep, here.
Right. And if we got the right trend line on the top side, you'll find that crosses through there as well. and I make that about 98.15 or somewhere like that.
Well, I reckon that means you're back up here.
Could be.
And then you come
I
back
haven't got
down
the chart in
through,
front of me. I can't remember exactly one.
down.
That'll do. It's close
Trying
enough.
to get back down through. That's where you are there, mate.
Ah, there's the high. You got it. You got it. Bingo.
God, you'd think we hadn't traded together for 20 years in the past, mate, or however long it was. Someone will be checking this. This will be on bloopers. On you were getting more chat comments in this particular.
Dennis, you're right. Larry, Coley, and Mo. Oh, for God's sake.
Good on you, Dennis. Yep. So that confluence area is where I believe we're going to see the US dollar index bounce short, because it's therefore a false break of the resistance area. Got it? It's also going to be a lower high.
There were some better points with this and that, right? There was more to the. I got it, mate. I got it. We've got a horizontal level. We have got a support trend line and a resistance trend line, and we have a confluence area. And interestingly enough, they literally, with a little bit of tidy up here, they
converge.
They almost converge at the top of that bar, which is interesting in itself, wasn't it? You know,
yeah. You don't often get that in technical analysis.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, so you're picking for perhaps the retest up to here, and then we're going to come back down and have a look back down here, right? You're another dollar weakness guy, right? Same as Julian, right?
Yes, definitely.
And 97 is the.
I've been saying that for 5 years.
97 is the magic number, right? It's one of the great rules of trading, isn't it, Julie? Jeff, if you say the same thing for long enough,
it'll work.
It'll work.
You got it.
It'll finally help happen.
90,
if you say it to enough people,
is the magic number, isn't it?
Chance.
I thought, is it 97 or is it
98.15?
There's a number on this that does tend to suggest that we're well busted. Okay, mate. We might. One thing I will do is I'll get James to give me the passwords. I think he must have them for TradingView. We've been paying for it now for about 5 years and never use it. So must get in. So we've got some different stuff, because it is. I think dollar index is interesting. Is an interesting chart to have a look at. And look, if you don't mind, Jeff, I'm going to take your lines off for a second and talk about this for a second. Is that okay?
Please do.
Well, I'm going to try. I've got no idea what I'm doing. Look at that. I think that worked. Look at this. I'm a master on this.
Yeah, where's your delete button?
You're the IT guy, remember?
Click. I'm the IT guy. That is right. Famous for saying it and famous for being it. There was one thing I managed to fix all on my own with the IT once. I got the record for it. Look, I just think, when you look at this, just in simple technical trading parlance, we've got a low. Generally speaking, we've put in higher highs and higher lows, and it hasn't been perfect. We have this little spike down here, no question about it, but all of a sudden the higher highs have stopped, and we've put in what looks like it's not a lower low yet. We haven't taken out this area here, but the probability here of a lower high is pretty good, and from there the move down looks pretty likely. And look, I don't want to do too much fundamental stuff here, but these are the choices you're faced with as a US more quantitative easing, more printing of money, less value to the currency, unless somebody else does quantitative easing and prints more money before them, in which case that country's currency will go down first, and then the US's will go down when they do this. But largely, the more of anything you have, the less it's valued at per item. So if you have 1,000, if you have 1,000 chickens, I don't know, and you find 2,000 chickens, they're worth less. And it's the same with money. So the more money they print, the less the value of their money will be. And I'm going to suggest to you that look, if you want a theory, then here's a theory. Let's pretend for a second that Donald Trump is an egomaniac who will do anything to get reelected, and his country's dying. His only option is to stimulate the crap out of his economy. And I think we have got a lot more money coming. And if we do that, we will see dollar weakness. And that is why we're starting to hear this dollar weakness term all over the place, in my view. And because it makes sense technically, because Jeff wouldn't be saying it because of fundamental stuff. He'd be saying it because it makes sense technically. Jeff, while we were doing our example on how not to use TradingView, we lost 7 people watching the show. Sorry.
How many dropped off?
Look, it's one of those things where are we expecting US dollar to go strong next week? I think there's a suggestion here. Look, when you look at the chart here, long tail, long tail, long tail. It does suggest to me that there's still some buying going on in that. There's probably a level around here where we're seeing a little bit of buying. There we are. There's your level there. We're seeing a little bit of buying come off this level. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it pop up somewhere and create this proper lower high. You know, potentially that level there would 98.37 would come into mind as a place that could happen. There's plenty of other places it could happen. I guess you could run a trend line down if you wanted to. I'm on a weekly chart. This will look a bit different on a daily chart, but a little more buying I think is possible on the US dollar. But
Agreed.
I think that the moment that stimulus is confirmed, and they sort of rumored it out on Friday, if it comes out once it's confirmed, US dollar selling should be the order of the day. Mate, so we come back to our own charts and get back to some technical analysis. We've only got 14 minutes. We're supposed to be in a meeting with the team to have a meeting.
Yeah, I will. I'll be very quick from this point because this is a theme, right?
Sorry, mate. I've reduced it. You need to grab the screen.
Okay, done.
I've dumped out of dollar index. So
right, there we go. So this is a theme across everything against the US dollar, but it also goes to a lot of currencies. And if you're talking about printing money, who are the undisputed world champions of printing money? The US. Of course. There you go.
They're brilliant, aren't they?
Absolutely unbelievable. Undisputed world champions.
Look, I really would like to, when we've got some more time, Jeff, talk about how I see this playing out, because I think it's really important. And I'm gonna start again now. I've said it a couple of times. I haven't done any detail, but here's how this works. And this is my explanation. Maybe not economists to come along and tell me I'm wrong, but here's my explanation. The central bank goes to computer and gives itself some money. Then it buys the bonds of the government, so that there's never a lack of demand. So price never goes up for interest on those bonds. Guarantees long-term interest rates, which are very low for mortgages. So the more quantitative easy, the more your 5-year mortgage stays down. That's fantastic. Government borrows the money for bugger all. That's fantastic. Spends the money to stimulate the economy. That's great. At the end, it gives the money back to the central bank, and the central bank disintegrates it. Apart from
simple.
Why in a Western democracy full of greedy people voting would you give the money back to yourself? It just ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So this money is not going to go back to the Reserve Bank. It's going to be extended out, interest-free loaned, long-term this and written off. And when that happens, we're going to see hyperinflation.
They call it.
And if we had a date on that, it'd be really cool.
Mate, you've got a date on that, and it's but basically these guys are buying 5- and 10-year bonds. That's what the Reserve Banks are doing. They're buying government 5- and 10-year debt. They're buying some corporate stuff in America, and in New Zealand they're buying secondary market, which will be corporate. In Australia they'll be buying straight government debt. So they're buying 5- and 10-year bonds. You've got a date, and what will happen is that one country somewhere in the world will go, no, I don't think we should pay that back, and it'll just be like bang, 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 the world will follow. Because why would you? When you've got a choice of going to be elected and saying to the people of New Zealand, that coronavirus was a bit of a bitch. We need to find $50 billion. We're going to put in your tax bill. Or how about we write that off? What are they going to vote for?
Yep.
It's a shambles coming. It really is. Let's get back to the technicals.
It is going to change. Everything's going to change. I think you'd be silly to deny that that's a distinct possibility, probability going to happen. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about the Aussie versus the US dollar. And we've just established that the US dollar is going to continue to rally for a little bit of time. And we're not sure what that is or where that is. I'm suggesting around about the cloud of a price between 90, I said again, 98 and 99. Somewhere in there, I think we're going to find a resistance level and we're going to crash. So how do we deal with that? Well, currently Aussie dollar's in a range and we've come off the top of that range. We're looking for a lower high to trade it short. We will try and hang on to some of that in case we go down to, say, the monthly pivot, which will change, of course, as I said, on Wednesday. So we need to find a level that suits us. I would suggest it's probably in here somewhere, just on this chart, but I'm not going to go back any further to find that level. But I'm suggesting that there's a level somewhere down here where we can start to look to buy the Aussie versus the US dollar based on what we've just been talking about. Great place for this to potentially bounce, and it did. And that's the challenge that we have now. Where do we trade it to? And of course, the obvious answer is the most obvious levels. There's one that we just pointed out. So profit, and see what happens after that. And we can look to, pardon me, once we see that potential turnaround, trade it to the high side. So that's exactly what I'll be looking for this coming week, trading the Aussie short until we get that support level. Exactly the same with pound because it's against the US dollar, so I don't need to go through that again. Let's talk about something different. Dollar yen. Well, gee, I find this hard to trade. I really do find this hard to trade at the moment in particular. But I think there's some hints here that that we can totally look at. One of them is this trade line. And we've had a clear break and a clear retest of that. And we've not only retested the trade line, we retested last week's weekly pivot and the monthly pivot, which again will disappear on Wednesday. This is a tradable bar for me, but I did not see that because it happened overnight Thursday and I didn't open my charts on Friday. Had I traded that, I assume that I'm in the trade and not looking to flash. That doesn't deter me. Well, I'm kind of pleased that I'm not in the trade, I've got to say. But that break and retest is very interesting, as is a potential trade here, maybe. This is a 4-hour chart. That's a nice little high test bar on the monthly pivot, daily pivot, weekly pivot. Entry underneath that made sense on Friday. It may not make as much sense tomorrow morning because those pivots won't be there. We'll see where they are and how we react off that. But I do like that scenario. I think that's a potential here for a short. If you want to go a little bit safer, maybe wait for the bigger time frames to tell you the real story, I suppose. But on the daily chart, if you're considering a trade, then I would strongly consider that break and retest of that support trend line. I think your stop loss can get above that that bar there. I think your entry can get there, and I think you can take profit to get yourself safe just on that level there. I know it's not a sexy scenario. You're not going to get much money out of that first position, but if you're right and this continues to go and you're safe in the market, then you're going to pick up the money here. So just keep your eye on that one. For tomorrow morning, dollar CAD. Julian said I'd talk about this, and I sure will. Now, there's a couple of things going on here. One is that we've got a range that we've been trading in, and we've come off the bottom here, and we've got a higher low in place, but price has just broken out of the top of that range. One of two things in my mind are going to happen here, and that is this break will be proven false, or it's going to go to the monthly pivot top of that. I think it's a descending channel, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's actually a trend line. Okay, either way, I think that's kind of where we need to be looking. And this could go very quickly to here. There's a confluence area there. So by Wednesday, change of the month, we could very easily be there, time and price. I'm not convinced that that's the case. And the 4-hour chart, as I said before, is very, very interesting. I think there's the potential to trade this maybe as an OCO, but I'm not that keen on trading the long exactly where that candle ends. I'd like to get above it a little bit, but the short's very clear. If you trade it underneath the bar here and put your stop above the swing, or what looks like being a swing, then I think you've got a potential here to go back to the bottom and maybe even a little bit further. Depends on how that dollar scenario works out. If the long is in play, then there's an obvious target here, as I said before, and pretty much I think that's where you get out if you do get in the long. So watch that closely. I think tomorrow morning that can be potentially an OCO, as I said, long or short. either way, I think there's a trade there. If you're keen on that, have a good look at it. Dollar Swissy, I think, is a very, very ordinary conveyance. And the reason I say that is because of the mess that I see on bigger time frames. Yeah, I see an overall picture where we've come off the top of a range, we've come off the bottom of a range, and essentially we've got a higher low here with this bar. It's a bit too big to take on, though. If it was something of that ilk and it was a higher low, then I'd look to trade it, but don't really like the size of the bar. The monthly pivot's still there untested, so you'd be trading into that. It's just a little bit too tough for me. So I'll be leaving that one alone tomorrow. What would I like to see? Maybe a break and retest of the trade line. Then I think we've got a chance. And the last one, well, two last ones I'm going to look at. Is there such a thing? Two last ones. Kiwi US dollar is exactly the same as I've described. I think there's a little bit of downside left. The bottom of, the top of that channel looks to be interesting. And somewhere in there, there's probably a good bounce point. So maybe we sneak down here for the first couple of days of the week, and then we can look for about, that's a weekly chart, of course. So maybe we sneak down here the first couple of days of the week and then look for long as we were and would be on the Aussie dollar. And last one, Euro pound, pretty much exactly the same as I've just described on dollar CAD in terms of a structure, which looks a lot like that. This is either going to be a break or a false break, one of the two. And I think there's probably reason to think that will be short rather than long. So I'm a fan of placing an order underneath this bar and watching what happens, taking profit obviously before the monthly pivot, and then seeing if we can break short. That'll be my keen interest on Euro pound on tomorrow and indeed on Tuesday. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at, guys. I know there's 100 different things that I can look at, Dennis, and I'm sorry we haven't got time to go through everything, but that's primarily where I'm at as we start the session tomorrow. In YouTube tomorrow, I'll definitely have a look at that cross for you. That's me done, mate.
It is indeed, Dennis.
Hell yes.
Thanks, Jeff, Ainsley, Julian, and Ash. Great to have your company today. Another show that goes an hour 45. I do wonder at times whether we should be trying to keep this to an hour 15, but it always seems fascinating for an hour 45 to me. It really does. What was that, sorry, Ainsley?
Said, ha, we've tried to keep it for an hour to an hour for how long now?
Yeah, it does go on, but it does seem interesting to me. I enjoy sitting and listening to it. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. Too. It takes a while for me to give up my Sunday night. I am going to join anyone from the AW team that wants to have a chat and have a quiet bourbon with them to finish off the weekend and talk about the markets for the weekend ahead. For the rest of you guys, thanks very much for joining us. You guys have still got PH doing market analysis, Alexis doing technical analysis tonight. We will have Willie doing support for you guys at around 7 o'clock tomorrow. 3 a.m. Tuesday morning, we have Chloe doing more support for you guys. I'll be online Wednesday doing a free session. Just sent a note from Peter asking James to move his session on trading software forward. So I think he's in for late July, but those dates are holidays. So we'll be bringing him in a little bit earlier as well. Cheers, guys. Thanks for all the thanks. You guys are more than welcome. We love doing it. We appreciate you guys coming along and joining us. Have a good evening tonight. Make some good decisions next week. It looks like a market that's tradable, and yeah, we should make some money if we have a good week and make some good decisions this week. It's a week that looks gettable to me, and you know, it's not a all-in looking week to me, but it's a week for some solid decisions. It's also a chance to wind out a month, so maybe some reversals a little bit on Tuesday, some stuff unwinds as it can do at the end of a month. I do encourage you to spend some time tonight and sort out your plan for July. Cheers, guys. Have a good night. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers. See you.
Great. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hooroo.